Hey, it's Sasha Evdokov, and welcome to BackstageIncome.com, where I share with you how money is made behind the scenes in your business and also for your life. Now, in this week's episode, what I'd like to focus on is bootstrapping your online business, or getting started and getting that momentum going. Now, if you've never heard the concept of bootstrapping or pulling up your boots, the word or the stem of that word really comes from using the resources that you have available. So pulling up your boots are pretty much the only thing that you have available. Pull them up and continue moving forward. And this is what bootstrapping is all about, is it's using those resources that you have at your fingertips to get your business going. Now, unfortunately, it is much more difficult to get a business going from that beginning, from the start, than it is to keep one moving if it already has momentum. If you already have a foundation in place, if you already have the software in place, you have the tools in place, you have the employees in place, it is much more difficult to get energy moving because you're going against the grain. Similar to how getting a car moving or a space shuttle off to the moon is, it takes a lot more fuel, a lot more energy to get going from the stopped position than it does if things are already moving, because you already have that momentum in place. So if you're starting a business and you're just getting started, I want to break down the cost for you and compare it to someone who's just getting started in the online space, or someone that's already moving and already generating some momentum. So initially, when you're first getting started in the online space, you're going to need some things to at least become present, to at least actually get your business going and running. So some of those things may actually include the same things that you actually have as a business that's already functioning and working. So for example, things like a domain name is going to cost you $10 a year, regardless of if you have a really stable business or if you're just getting started. Website hosting is going to cost you about $100 a year if you're just getting started, and a little bit more, let's say $800, if you actually have a website that's generating a lot of traffic. If you're looking to do some accounting with QuickBooks, let's just say $100 a year if you're just getting started, and if you're doing some payroll, it may cost you $300 a year. If you're looking to do some email newsletters or broadcast some newsletter list promotions, then a basic newsletter list with Aweber is going to cost you about $240 a year if you're just getting started, but about $1,800 a year if you actually have a massive list. Now, if you want to add a fancy pop-up for those newsletters on your website, it may cost you $50 a year with less traffic, or $200 a year if you're going the premium route and you have an established business. And of course, let's just say you need to register your online business as an LLC, which costs you about $100 a year. But of course, this depends on the state you registered. But to keep things simple, whether you're making more money or less money, it's still going to cost you the same. Your cell phone or telecommunication costs are going to be roughly the same, whether you have a full-fledged online business or you're just getting started. So let's just say $500 a year. Now, if you're running social media campaigns and you need more advanced management, let's just say you use the Buffer app or the Hootsuite. But these, again, cost you $100 a year. And it doesn't matter if you're just getting started or you already have a lot of clientele. Next, you may also have some e-commerce or a membership plugin. If you're using WordPress, you might use S2 Member, which could be $200 a year. Then you may also have some business cards, which may cost you about $100 a year for a nice pack of 1,000 cards. Now, if you're running a really busy business, you may need a little more cards, so you may need $120 or $200 per year to purchase more business cards because you're just more well known. Now, if we add up these costs just for someone getting started, you're looking at about $1,500 per year in costs. And this doesn't even include a web designer, a programmer, additional scripts. I just threw in a few basic ideas, a few basic expenses just to get the ball rolling. So at $1,500 per year would be your general expenses in order to keep your business running. And of course, depending on your business, it may cost you a little bit more or it may cost you a little bit less. Now, if you're generating $10,000 a year, which typically most businesses their first year don't even generate a revenue, that $1,500 is 15% of your revenue. So it's cutting into a huge part of your profits or the revenue that you're generating. Now, if you're an online business that's generating a healthy profit, or let's just say you're doing fairly well, you're probably making about $150,000 a year or much more. Now, if you break down some of the costs, of course, you're going to pay more in expenses to run your business because you require more resources. But let's just say it costs you roughly $4,200 per year. Now, out of that $4,200, if you put it into $150,000 per year, you're really only looking at 2.8% of your revenue. Now, if you compare this to the earlier example of 15% of your revenue, you can see how getting started in your business is much more difficult. So you really need to start cutting out some of that loose resources or the loose things that you really don't need in your business in order to get started, because that getting started point is very difficult. You have to pull yourself up by your boots and really just use the resources you have available. You need to use the things that are really the most important to get things moving. Now, in this example, I modestly chose $150,000 per year to illustrate the example. However, there are many business owners online that are generating anywhere between $50,000 to $350,000, not per year, but per month. And if you break this down into having just $20,000 or $30,000 in expenses, looking at $350,000 per month, that's still only 5% of your revenue in terms of expenses. Whereas if you compare that figure and compare it to someone who's just generating $10,000 to $15,000 a year from their first or second year of online business, those expenses really start creeping in at about 15 to 25% of what you're making. So it's really important to bootstrap. And if you can cut some of those things out that are not as relevant, that are not as important to get your business growing, to build those customers, to build the marketing, to build the relationships and focus on growing products, then you might want to cut those things out. So I always say that it's important to focus on, number one, your customer, number two, your products, and then the marketing that you're doing to connect your customers to your products and services. So I hope this video was helpful and insightful. And if you like this video and you want to see some of the other mini courses and videos that we have available, go visit BackstageIncome.com by clicking this button right here. And when you get there, you can also enter your name and email address to get some of our freebies, goodies, and other mini little courses. Now, if you want to hang out on YouTube and continue hanging out on YouTube, you can click one of the thumbnails right below this video and we'll continue learning together more about business and building an income for yourself online. I'm Sasha Evdokov, and thanks for joining me. And remember to do what you love, contribute to others, but most importantly, live life abundantly. See you next time.